Now that we have our still life drawn, we're ready for the next step of this project. We're going to be coloring these in an interesting way. We're not just going to color them the way they are in the still life. We're going to do something a little different. The first thing we need to do is break up the space of our paper into 12 places, 12 spaces. I have an 18-inch ruler here, which is going to help me with that. But if you don't have an 18-inch ruler, you can look around your house for a tall book, and you can use something like that, or maybe just something that will hopefully be long enough and sturdy enough to connect your paper corner to corner. So you can look like for a tall book, or gosh, I don't know. I'm sure there's something around your house that you could use for that. But I'm going to use an 18-inch ruler. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line my ruler up with one corner of my paper and with the other corner of my paper diagonally. I'm not going to hold my ruler way over here because then it's going to push it as I'm trying to draw along it. I'm going to take my hand and spread my fingers big and wide and hold right in the middle of my paper, a ruler, and I'm going to draw a line that connects one corner of my paper to the other corner of my paper. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other corner so that I'm connecting those corners as well and making a big letter X across my paper. Okay, so I have a big letter X across my paper, but this only gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces that I need, and I need 12. So if we do a little bit of math, how many pieces do I need to break each of these 4 into to end up with 12? If you think about it, I need to break each one into 3 pieces. So if I want to break this triangle right here, just at the top of my paper, into 3 pieces, I'm going to use 2 lines to do that. Before I do this part, I want my spaces to be as equal as possible. I don't want to have like one skinny, skinny, skinny little piece here and one skinny, skinny little piece here and then a really big piece over here. So before I make my next lines, I'm going to look at the space across the top of my paper, and I'm just going to make some little marks to divide just this top line of my paper into 3. So, and this is a little bit of just a guess. This isn't going to be exact, okay? This is just sort of me, what's called eyeballing, to space this into 1, 2, 3 pieces. And then I'm going to do the same thing across this side. Now my spaces will be longer because this space of my paper is much taller. So I'm going to try to break it into 1, 2, 3 pieces as well, and I'm just going to make little marks on the side of my paper so that I can connect these marks to the middle. I'm going to do the same thing down here at the bottom, just make some little marks to break this into 1, 2, 3 pieces. And I'm going to do the same thing along this side where I'm going to make a little mark, 1, 2, 3. Now I have all the information I need to do some connecting of the dots. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to connect all these little dots that I made to the center of my paper. So I'm connecting it with the middle of that letter X, and I'm just going to draw a line. 1, 2. Okay, so now 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to keep going around my paper until I end up with all of my 12 little pie pieces, if you will. 12 little, it's almost like slices of pizza, connecting the middle to the edges. If it helps you to rotate your paper, you can. Sometimes that's helpful to me to rotate my paper. Oops, I didn't even draw that line. Here we go. I want to end up with 12 pieces of my pie. 12 pieces of my pie. Okay, this is my last line. I've got 12 pieces. If I start right here and count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which is just what I need. The next thing we need to talk about is what's called positive space and negative space. When you're looking at a piece of artwork, the positive space in the piece of artwork is where there is an object, okay? So this coffee cup right here is a positive space because it's an object. The space around my objects is called negative space because there's nothing there. If I hold this Sharpie up right here, and I'm going to kind of put it, well, see, let me move this out of the way for a second. I'm going to go like this with my hand and my Sharpie. I want you to try to think about what the positive space is and the negative space. There's some little tricky things here. The pen, of course, is a positive space. My hand, my fingers are positive space. But the space in between my fingers and around my hand is all negative space. The part that can get kind of tricky is the parts that are in between my fingers here that create like a little shape between my fingers and the pen. This is still negative space. I can stick my finger through it, okay? Whereas I can't stick my finger through this pen. So that means this is negative space because I can go through it, okay? I can go around it. But my hand and the pen are positive space. We're going to be using the positive space and the negative space in this drawing. So we're just going to do a little bit of thinking before we get started. And something that might kind of help you out is if you very lightly with your pencil, super duper lightly, maybe write a little P for positive space or put a little dot or something on the things that are positive space just to help you spot them as we go to the next part. So if I'm going to look in just this triangle right here, my coffee cup itself, I know is positive space. So I'm going to put a little dot on it, just very, very lightly, just a super light little dot to let me know, okay, I've got to do something different here. This is positive space. This little corner of my paint bottle is positive space. Now this might fool you. What about this table that we put our thing on? Positive space or negative space? If you said positive space, you're right. This is positive space because it's something you can't stick your hand through, okay? It's not just air around things. So I'm going to put a little dot there as well. What about this triangle right here that's in between my paint bottle and my coffee cup, and it's past my table? That's right, this is negative space right here, so I'm going to be doing something different with that. So it just might help you out to kind of search in each one of your little pizza pie slices for what is positive and what is negative. There might be some tricky ones, like in this one right here, where there's two spaces that are negative because I can see past my coffee cup. This isn't tabletop, it's just the air around my coffee cup. So both of these little spaces would be negative. But all of these spaces here would be positive. My coffee cup handle, my table, and then my table again are all positive spaces, and the air around them are negative spaces.